And we're live. Hey everybody, welcome into the Flippin' Hippos YouTube channel. I'm Star the Flippin' Hippo. Today's Tuesday, August 11th. And if you're new to the channel or this is your first live show and you're not familiar with us, I am Star and I'm one half of a team. My other half is Keith. He is my partner in business and life, but he does not ever get in front of the camera or on the social media. So what do? We're power sellers on eBay. We sell on Poshmark, Grailed, Bonanza, Amazon, Macari. Did I say that one? Local, Facebook, Craigslist, pretty much everywhere except Etsy because I don't have any crafting skills at all and we don't come across a lot of vintage. And then, of course, we have this YouTube channel and we have a Facebook group. If you're not a part of it, there's a link down below. It's called the Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Really great group, free to join. We have that. We have Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We have an email, flippinhipposhelp@gmail.com. I do answer everybody eventually. Emails are a little bit tougher for me to get to. I don't always get to them in a timely manner. And I try to get to them first in, first out. So you might wait a little bit. If you mail me today, you're going to wait for all the people that were ahead of you. And as far as messages on social media, I did want to attack that real quick before I say hi to anybody in the chat and get started tonight. I've been getting some emails and some messages, I guess, from folks who are getting frustrated because they're sending me messages and they're not getting answers for weeks, sometimes a month at a time. And I know I've said this on the channel before, but if you're new to the channel or you've never heard me say this, messaging me is not a great way to get a hold of me, especially Facebook messages. At least with Instagram messages, I do get a notification on my phone, and they're so few and far between I can find them. Facebook, I do not have set up to notify me on the phone, or it would drive me absolutely batshit crazy. It would be going off all day long between all the viewers and all of my friends that I talk to all day long on Facebook that I keep in touch with. It would be going off all day, and it would drive me literally crazy. So I do not have notifications on my phone for Facebook messages, number one. Number two, Facebook likes to bury them and not show them to you. So even if you're messaging our Flippin' Hippos page or me personally on Facebook, chances are I'm not going to see it. They get buried and I do not see them. What was I going to say? I do like once a month, I go, oh my gosh, I haven't checked my messages in forever. And I go, there's like a tab you can go to for message requests where they put all the messages from people that they don't show you. And I'll see stuff from like a month and a half ago and just questions that were probably time sensitive. And I didn't get to them in time because they just sat there. So if I haven't said it before, or I have said it before, but if you've never heard me say it before, messaging me on Facebook is not the best way to get a hold of me. In fact, it is probably the worst way, and your stuff will sit there for a month or two until I remember to look. Emails are good. I do get to those. I do spend about 15 to 20 minutes a day catching up on emails, but there's so many in there, and I work through as many as I can. But again, I go first in, first out. So if you email me today, you're sitting in a queue for a couple days. And then if you get impatient and you send a second email, it pushes your email back down to the bottom. So now you're waiting even longer. But I do get to all the emails. YouTube comments, I do get to. I'm just a little slower on those and email. The fastest and best way to get a hold of me if you really, really need me or you have a time-sensitive question that needs an answer now is join the Facebook group. I see the link there on the side. Join the Facebook group and tag me in your questions. If your questions are sensitive to you and they're private and you don't want them public, you can tag me in there and let me know you sent me a private message, and that's okay, because clearly if you tag me in my group, which is the best way to get a hold of me, where I see everything, and you say, hey, I had a question, but I didn't want it to be public, just between us, or you don't even have to say all that. Just say, I sent you a PM Star. Did you see it? tag me, and then I can go look in my messages and find yours. But if it's not something that's like super private or super embarrassing or something, just ask it publicly in the group, tag me, and I'll answer you. Other people will answer you. You can get different points of view and different points of experts answering your questions. That said, there was something else I wanted to say. I don't want to discourage anyone from emailing or doing YouTube comments. You can keep doing all of that. If your stuff isn't time sensitive, if you just are like, hey, I was wondering when I should move up to another store, and you can wait a little bit for your answer, email and YouTube is fine. But if it's time sensitive, that's where I start to feel bad. Like I see stuff from a month ago where someone was having a shipping issue that day and I couldn't get back to them. So tag me in the group. And then if you need to PM me because you want it to be private, that's fine. But still tag me in the group and alert me to the fact that I need to be looking at my messages. Okay. That said, let's see who's here. Let's say hi to folks. Tammy's here. Welcome in, Tammy. Stark Raven Wild is here. We get to play The Price is Right. Jamie Brown is here. And I'm going to mention Jamie Brown's name again in a minute. And you guys will see why. But welcome in, Jamie. Noman the Frog are here, guys. That's Bill and David, two of my really close friends. They have the blue wrench there. Say hi to them. Donna, welcome in, another good friend of mine. Scott is here. Helen, David's here as himself with the frog face. So I take it Bill's on the Noman Frog account. Beth is here. Welcome in. Nina Sullivan is here from Alabama. There is the Facebook link. Go ahead and join if you want to click that. And Esmeralda is here. She is Semper Apparatus right there, you guys. If you're at all curious about what's going on in the world, C-19, ways to protect yourself and stuff, Esmeralda does work in the healthcare field, in the emergency field. She's been a guest on this channel to talk about preparedness and protecting yourself. But go ahead and subscribe to her channel, Semper Apparatus, and she does videos on all of those health questions that we all have, and they're coming from an expert. Anyway, that's Esmeralda. Beth says, thank you, Star, for being so responsive the one time I did tag you in a Facebook post. Yeah, I'm really fast on those. The thing is I do have notifications set up. So if you tag me in my Facebook group, I get a notification. I check my phone for notifications once an hour, once every 2 hours, depending on what I'm working on. I try to never work longer than 2 hours without taking a 5 or 10 minute break just to check my notifications, check the group, make sure everything's going okay. Sometimes you guys will see 3, 4, 5 days go by and you don't really see me active in the group. It's because I don't need to be. I'm in there, I'm lurking, I'm reading everything, but I don't really need to be sometimes. You guys in that group are amazing. Everyone answers everyone's questions. Everyone is very respectful and polite. I don't have to police it. I don't have to act like a teacher chastising children. And sometimes I get tagged, and by the time I get to it, 12 other people have given the right answer. So I don't put my 2 cents in because you guys worked it out on your own. It is a really great group. Esmeralda's here live. Yeah, she usually watches the replays. YouTube comments. Yeah, I do get behind on YouTube comments because that's like my last I have like priorities, and my Facebook group is number 1 priority. Email is probably number 2, and then YouTube comments is number 3. Instagram falls to number 4, and it shouldn't, because I'm always telling you guys how important Instagram is, but it is what it is. I always tell you guys I do everything I tell you not to do. Danny's here. Kelly's here. Cherry Picker's here. Pame, did I say that right? Roxy, Marianne, welcome in everybody that's here. Thank you so much for coming in. So we're 8 minutes in, and I'm blabbing still. But I wanted to address that because, one, yesterday I did go back through some of my old messages, and some of them are like, not yesterday. Today's Tuesday. Over the weekend, I went over some. Some of them were really old, and they were time sensitive, and I felt bad. And some people fussed at me because I take too long to get back to them. And it's like, well, I've said a million times, if I've said it once, Facebook doesn't show me all my messages. You have to let me know you messaged me. Let's get into the meat of the show. Let me wet my whistle because my throat's dry already. We're going to talk about a volume-based business versus one that is built on less volume and higher priced items. And this is where I bring up Jamie Brown again. Jamie actually requested this topic in the Facebook group. See, I do pay attention. I do lurk in there and read everything. And I was going to do a pre-recorded video tomorrow on, volume-based versus higher priced items store, or business-based, whatever. And then I thought, you know what? Let's do this live, because then people can ask their questions in real time and not have to wait for an answer. I'm here right now. I'm here for your questions. I will answer as many as I can before I leave, before the show's over. I will probably stay the whole entire hour tonight. I know that in recent months, I've been trying to keep my shows at 30 to 45 minutes, but this topic is super important. There's a lot of information to give you guys, and there's probably going to be a lot of questions. So if I have to stay the full hour, I am prepared to do that 1000% for you guys. So I'm here until 8 if you need me. If questions peter off and we can end it early, that's great too. But I'm willing to stay till 8. So the first thing you have to decide for yourself is what kind of business model you want. At the end of the day, I think the honest answer any of us would give is that none of us really want a volume-based business model. Unless we are already making well over 6 figures, we have a warehouse, and we're paying employees. Like the clothing store whose name I always forget, BHMQ, BHML. Someone help me out in the chat. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's the clothing store that sells clothes very reasonably priced and somewhat cheaply. And BHMO, I don't know. And they do it in great volume. But they have tons of money, they have warehouses, they have employees, and whoever's at the top of that food chain that started that company is living high on the hog. And in that case, you probably want the volume-based business. Hey, Greg, welcome in. We have a volume-based business for all intents and purposes. BHFO, thank you so much, Donna. I can never remember it. Now, if I had my druthers, as my grandmother would say, those of you that are Southern will know that expression. If I had my druthers, I would have access to one item that is worth $1,000 that sells overnight every time I list it. And I have consistent, solid, steady, reliable access to this item where I could get 1 a day or 2 a day. But 1 a day would be fine. If I could get one of these every day for 7 days a week, 30 days a month, and list it, and it would sell overnight for $1,000, I'd be making $30,000 gross a month on one item. How much work would I have to do? I mean, am I going out and spending 4 hours thrifting for this one item each day, or is it being mailed to my house? But either way, you're working less. But the reality is that none of us have access to that reliably, consistently over time. And if you do, you are very, very rare, and you are very lucky, and you are probably lying. But there's some tough stuff for you guys. You guys know what I'm talking about. The people that say they make $500,000 a month on one item. Well, I mean, I guess it's possible for someone out there to have access to that, but I just don't see it being realistic, because even BHFO's model is to sell $6 to $10 items of clothing just in great quantities, great mass. You know what? Walmart's a volume-based business. Walmart does everything in great volumes at really low prices. And when the time comes that it's the end of that item, they just clearance it out and call it a loss. So the business of being in a volume-based business isn't a new idea, and it's not a bad idea. And it doesn't always mean more work. It doesn't always equate to more work. It just, you might have to put more work in at the beginning until you have more capital built up that you can hire employees and start delegating the work out to others. But a volume-based business is not a bad idea. It's not a new idea. A lot of well-known businesses have that model. But the first thing you need to decide for yourself is what you want. And the honest answer, most of us, I think, are going to say we want less items for more money. Some people, though, like the volume-based business. I don't know that it would be my first choice, but I don't mind it. Everything that we do list in great volume, I've gotten so fast with over the years. I can eyeball stuff at the store real quick, grab 100 pairs of jeans. I can eyeball Plush and come home with 200. That's my I'm flipping through the racks hand, if you didn't know. Bill and David have seen it in person. I'm really fast. Like, and measuring, photographing, listing, all that. I've gotten super fast at it, so it doesn't bother me anymore. So you also, so you need to decide which one you want, and then you have to be realistic and decide what's available in your area. And I know we've talked about this subtopic before as well. What is available in your local area? Everywhere is different, right? This is why I like wholesale. This is why I like getting thread up boxes. This is why I like buying from other sellers from other states and having it shipped here. We get a lot of boxes in from Texas from some of our wholesale folks, and I love them. We get stuff in there I've never seen in the wild here in Pittsburgh. Pearl snaps of brands I've never heard of that comp at 40 and 50 bucks. Jeans I've never heard of that comp at 40 and 50 bucks because it's different stuff down there in Texas than up here in Pittsburgh. If you live in Beverly Hills or the suburbs, the outlying areas of LA near Beverly Hills, I'm sure you could go to those thrift stores and find amazing stuff that you're not going to find in a blue collar factory town like Pittsburgh. So you have to decide what is available in your area. Do your thrift stores carry high-end items, whether it's luxury brands of shoes and clothing, accessories, whether you have access to tons of vintage glassware or vintage clothing, if you have access to really high-end plush or electronics. You have to decide what's in your area. And at the end of the day, most areas are not going to have a consistent, reliable plethora or array of high-end items. What you're mostly going to find in most of the thrift stores is the bread and butter and the poop. And that's just a fact of life. If you have access to a thrift store that has a lot of luxury brands at a cost of goods that makes sense for you to flip it in your business, good for you. Build up a non-volume base or shoot. Oops. Sorry, guys. Shoot. Build up a volume-based business on high-end items. That's what Colleen does. Our friend Colleen Gallagher, she does have access to a lot of really great luxury brands in her area. She's near New York. That's not surprising. And she built up volume on that. And so she makes even more money. So even if you have access to these items, do you want even more money? Do you want to be even more successful? Do you want to build more capital? Maybe have employees one day? There's several electronic sellers I can think of. I won't name names, but most of you know them from the Facebook groups that do really, really well for themselves in electronics and still do it in volume. The difference is they have business partners, they have employees, most of them. Jamie doesn't. Oops, named a name. No, I meant to name Jamie. So a lot of you are familiar with Jamie, the tie guy, but he does a lot of electronics too. There's a lot of really successful over six-figure electronic sellers who have found a reliable, consistent source to get those items, but they still choose to do it in volume. Because why make $200,000 a year when you can make $400,000 a year, rent out a warehouse, have employees, work less, and still make the same amount of money if you were doing it all for yourself, or even more, right? So you just have to decide what's in your area. Do you have any connections? Do you have a way to get stuff delivered to you? Do you know someone that can get you these electronic items consistently every month, this box of clothes or shoes or whatever every single month? And can you get it all the time? You cannot build up a non-volume based business model because you one time found a box full of Doc Martens at your church sale. You one time find the box of Doc Martens at your church sale, you lucked out, bring them home and sell them for sure, but you can't build your whole business model off of a one-time find. Like the Dankos I found, if any of you remember those nursing clocks. That was jackpot. That was money, but I couldn't build a business on it because where am I going to find more? I'm not. I lucked in. I was at a yard sale where a nurse was retiring and getting rid of all of her shoes. So you just have to find out what's in your area. And here's the thing. The answer to that question for most folks is going to be not enough. Not enough. You're still going to have to do a volume-based business. So, Erica, if you're going to buy wholesale from clothing companies, you need to make sure that what you're getting is good enough that you can sell it for what you want to sell it for. If you're having to pay $2 a piece, you need to flip it for $4. Is what you're getting worth $4? Because most of the time you're going to be reselling it or flipping it in wholesale amounts to other resellers who may not be able to justify paying $4 a piece. Or you can list it one by one in your store and double your investment that way. My opinion on that is basically going to come down to where are you getting it, how much is it costing, and what are you getting. It's going to differ from whoever you're buying it from. Simple Fit Life from Florida, welcome in. And Pam's Flip Life from Florida. All these Floridians in here tonight. So those are the two big considerations when you're deciding. Number one, what kind of business model do you prefer? The answer to that is probably less work, more money, but that's not going to be the reality. And number two, what's available in your area? We all hope stuff that's less work, more money, but the reality of that also probably not. There are very, very few resellers out there who have a connection that can get them the same exact item over and over and over again in quantities great enough to resell, at prices great enough to make a good enough return on investment, in a reliable way that they're getting it every single day, month, week, year, however many oftentimes they need to get it. That's not going to be common for most resellers. The third thing you need to consider is time, okay? So this is what I hear a lot of people say. I was about to say out of their mouths, but I actually read what they say in the Facebook groups. But a lot of these people will tell you, well, it just takes too much time, and I don't have that kind of time. Well, first of all, if you think you're going to run your own business and you don't have time, have fun at Target or an office building or wherever you're going to go work. Because if you don't have time to put into your own business or building your own business, then you don't need to be in business for yourself. You are going to work harder for yourself than you've ever worked for anyone else before. You're going to work longer hours, but you're going to reap the benefits instead of the CEO getting a new Lamborghini every year. But you've got to have the time to put in it. It's not just the amount of time you spend thrifting, measuring, photographing, listing, sourcing. There's a lot that goes into this business beyond all of that. You have to do accounting, you have to do your books. If you want to run social media and be successful there, that takes a lot of time. There's shipping, there's customer service. There's just a lot to running your own business that a lot of people don't factor in or think about. And that's why they think they don't have time, because they think they're going to get into this and they're going to go to a couple yard sales a year and sell their stuff on eBay and retire. That's not how this works. That's not how any business you start for yourself works, whether it's reselling or something else. So if you actually say you don't have the time, then you don't. You don't have the time, and you need to go back to work for someone else, and you need to forget about owning your own business. But is it really more time to do volume than to do the higher priced items at a lesser volume? Yes and no. If you're one of the very rare, like I said, very, very rare resellers who has a contact who can get you a case of these every week so that you're making $30,000 a month gross off of just a case of these, and they can get them to you every single week without fail reliably, then yes, you're going to be spending less time. You're going to list one item, multiple quantities, and you're going to make a lot of money. But 99.9999999% of resellers aren't going to have the hookup or the connection to get this item consistently and reliably So you're going to be out spending time looking for those higher priced items. And your time may be just as much time as the person doing volume or even more. So if it takes me, let's just do some simple math here. If it takes me an hour in and out, it takes us an hour in and out of the thrift store, but I do plush and jeans. So let's just say I wanted to do a volume jean business. In a half an hour to an hour, I could get in and out of the thrift store and come home with probably 200 pairs of bread and butter jeans on a good day. And those 200 jeans, if I do 20 pairs a day, that's going to take me another probably 2 to 3 hours to measure, photograph, and list. So if let's go on, say 3 hours a day, 5 days a week, let's even say I take weekends off, that's 15 hours a day. And then you add my sourcing time, 17 hours a week to get 200 pairs of jeans, bread and butter, sourced and listed. Now, let's say you're newer to this and it takes you a little bit longer to go through the racks and it takes you a little bit longer to measure, photograph, and list, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. When I first started, guys, I was a snail. I was so slow. It would take me an hour to measure 5 pairs of jeans. I was so slow. You get fast with time, and you get faster at sourcing too because you get used to flipping and looking real quick. But so let's say you're even new and it takes you 20 hours a week to source, photograph, measure, list 200 pairs of jeans, and they're all your average bread and butter jeans that you're going to average $10 profit. So you spent $200 in 20 hours to make $2,000. Now, let's say you don't have a connection for anything reliably coming in or even the same items. So you have to go out and search the yard sales, the church sales, the thrift stores, and you have to call all of these recycling places, and you have to call all of these stores looking for pallets and returns, and you have to go on the websites like Bulk and all of them and look at the auctions. So you're spending all your time every day either in your house on your computer on all these different websites looking at auctions and contacting and calling people and looking for stuff, or you're out there driving and using your gas and putting wear and tear on your car going from store to store. And you're not going to find 200 items. You're just not unless you have a reliable connection, which most of us won't or don't. So let's all in all say you spend the same 20 hours. And 5 days a week. That's 4 hours a day. You probably come home with 1 or 2 items. You're probably making the same amount of money overall. So are you really saving time? Not really. Unless, again, you have a connection. But most of us won't. So you're not, unless you have all the stuff coming to you or you have a place that you can go get it X day every month. You do have to go out and look for it, and you have to spend the time making the connections and the phone calls and looking for stuff. So you just kind of have to boil it down to, what is going on with my hair? Do I want to spend 20 hours in my house, in my pajamas, being comfortable, measuring and listing jeans, and only spending 2 hours outside of the house going through racks of jeans? Or am I the kind of person that wants to get up and get dressed every day and go out into the world and grab coffee and drive from place to place and look, and then maybe spend a couple hours in the afternoon on my computer checking auctions, checking storage units, calling these places and trying to find stuff? Because at the end of the day, I think you're really going to be spending the same amount of time for around the same amount of profits. You'll just be dealing with you'll be selling less items to make the same amount of money, but your time overall really isn't going to be that much different. You're going to be spending the same amount of time, but you're going to be doing more looking, seeking, and searching, which if that's your thing, go for you. That's good for you, but not for me, That's where it boils down to me. So here's the thing. Number 4 is going to be why we like a mix of both. Me and Keith being we. So the reason we like to have a mix of both in our store is because of everything I've already talked about. 1, your bread and butter items, especially for used clothing sellers, is going to be in abundance. Any one of us, any day of the week, can go to any thrift store, any yard sale, any church sale and come home with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bread and butter clothing, bread and butter plush, bread and butter glassware, bread and butter shoes, any of that. We can find it in abundance and we can have hundreds of it and it's there. You can go on to any wholesale or auction site, including our own at Shopify, and find just tons of wholesale waiting for you. Bread and butter items. They're always there. They're always going to be there. You can go to the Benz and fill up 10 carts and pay by weight and spend $50 and come home with thousands and thousands of items of bread and butter. Bread and butter is always going to be there. It is in abundance. It is not hard to find. It doesn't cost very much. Most of your bread and butter items are going to be your very low end cost of goods that will get you more profits and return on your investment. And it's always going to be there and you don't have to seek it out. This is why we like having a ton of filler and bread and butter in our store, because we can find it and it's never going to be elusive. It's never going to hide from us. We can be completely out of inventory, have nothing to list and be in the middle of a shutdown. And I can go online and I can find something wholesale, get it delivered here and have bread and butter items. But I do like some items that take me a little less time and sell for a little bit more money. Do I find those in wholesale? Yes. Do I find those at auctions and storage units? Yes. We find all of those high-end items also, but they're gems and they're buried within the other stuff. They're not in abundance and they're not easy to find. So if we buy, let's say someone goes out of business and they contact us or Casey and they say, I'm going to get out of clothing. I don't want to sell clothing anymore. I've moved on to another niche. I have 1,000 pieces. I'll sell them to you for 50 cents a piece or whatever. We purchase them. All 1,000 come here. Out of all of those, we may find 200, maybe 100 to 200 that are really great $80 pairs of jeans and $100 shirts and Doc Martens and all of that. They'll be in there. They're treasures and they will be in there and we will find them. We will get excited, but they're not as many. They're fewer and far between, but they're more exciting. They require the same amount of work as everything else, but they make more money. And they're buried in there. They are. They're harder for us to find in the wild. We find that our thrift stores really don't have much except for bread and butter. And that goes back to the number 2 thing I talked about, what's available in your area. We have long ago and far away discovered in our area, if you want to say, I'm only going to sell items that are going to sell for 40 or more, then we're going to be listing 5 things a week, 10 things a week. That's all we're going to find out in the wild here. It just is. But if we go the bread and butter route and we're more willing to say 15 to 20 bucks is where we want to keep our average sale price, we can come home with hundreds of items and make enough money that we're both at home doing this full time. But if we were being more cherry picky and only choosing the more expensive items, we wouldn't be making enough money for both of us to be doing this full time. That's just the bottom line. And when we first started in the beginning, when we first built up from our first $20 bill we took to the Benz, we never would have gotten to the point now where we're buying bulk buys of, 55,000 remotes here, 3,000 remotes there, going in on a 50,000 piece lot with Casey, getting 800 pieces delivered this week, 1,000 next week. We wouldn't have the capital to do any of that with, or enough money to turn around if we hadn't have decided in the beginning, after looking what was around us, that we're going to build up a volume-based business. So we took $20 to the Benz and came home with 20 pounds of bread and butter items. We took the profit from those and went back, and so on and so forth, until we started going to the 99-cent days at Goodwill and just kind of reinvesting. We did get choosier and pickier as time went by. Like with the first $20, it was like, grab anything that'll sell and make us $8 or $10. Anything. We got to build up. Now we're to a point where we can be a little more cherry picky and say, I only want higher end bread and butter and the best of the best fillers, but there's still poop in my store. There's still poop in everybody's store. But the point is that's why we like the mixture of both. We like the items that sell for more and take less time, but they're fewer and far between. They're good to have in there. It's good to have a nice mix. It's not so much that you can't build up a store on higher end items. You can. It's just going to take you a lot longer and a lot more money to get to where you want to be. If you're willing to put in the work and do all the bread and butter, you can get more return on your investments faster. And you can kind of learn what bread and butter is fast and what's not. And so when you're making decisions and you're getting cherry picky, now this just comes with time. You learn this with time or by learning. You can buy guides, you can watch YouTube videos, or you can just continue to source for yourself to learn this. But you'll learn that even within bread and butter, there's an arc. So over here is the really good bread and butter that sells for more money than this bread and butter over here. This may flip faster. This sits for a while. And you just learn that with time, and you learn how to grab the filler items that are going to cost you less and do them in volume that are going to flip in 3 to 6 months rather than sitting around 6 months or longer. Or it's going to flip for $25, $30 pair of jeans rather than 18 to 20. And it's good to have both in your store so that you are constantly flipping and you have those high dollar items that are going to sit and wait, but you're still making a ton of money. If you just build up on the higher end items, I really believe you're going to find less to list. You're not going to make as much money in the beginning when you're first getting started. So you're not going to have that capital, that money to reinvest to go buy more and build up your business. And that's super important, especially at the beginning. And so is activity. So if you're spending all week long going out thrifting and you're only listing 5 things a week, your store is not growing, your inventory isn't growing, you're not putting the kind of activity into your store or your closet that the algorithm needs to see to give your items a boost in searches. Whereas if you're listing 10, 15 items a day, that activity is there and your items are getting a boost in the algorithm. So I think it's good to have both. Like, definitely be on the lookout for the higher end items, the better money, and be on the lookout for connections. Look out for people who may be able to supply you. Maybe they can't give you enough that you're making $3,000, $30,000 a month on these. But if you could find someone that could deliver 5 of these to you a month, take them. Take all 5 of them. Make your $5,000 on this every month, and then do the rest with bread and butter or volume-based flipping. Another reason we really like the volume is because we can keep up with it with 2 people. So I am going to acknowledge that and say to those of you that are trying to do this on your own or in addition to a full-time job, it can seem a little more overwhelming to build up that kind of volume on your own than if we have 2 people like me and Keith. But I will throw Megan and Winnie's name out there and let you guys know that she, as a mother of 2 small toddlers within 1 year of each other, 2 children under the age of 3, and a husband in the military who's often deployed, managed to build up a 6-figure volume-based business on her own to the point where she now can hire help and has employees. But in the beginning, she built it up on her own. So it is possible. It goes back to what I said. How hard do you want to work for yourself? Do you want to work for somebody else for the rest of your life? Do you want to bust your ass so that Chuck upstairs in the executive offices can get a new Lamborghini and go to Hawaii every year? Or do you want to bust your ass for yourself for 3 years and live minimalistically, and then 4 years from now you've got everything you've ever wanted, as far as your business is built up and you can get a better house and now you can go to Hawaii and get a Lamborghini? It's just, you have to prioritize that. Do you want to spend your time on yourself or someone else? It is possible to build up a 6-figure business on your own, even with a disability, even with children, even if you're a single parent. It is possible. I hear success stories. I see success stories every single day of people who have it harder than I do, harder than you do, and don't come up with excuses and put their head down and put their nose to the grind and just do it. They just do it. I'm going to catch up on the chat a little bit. Start putting your questions in now if you have them, because I have one more note and I don't know what it says. I have to figure out my own handwriting. But let me catch up on the chat. And if you have questions, go ahead and start throwing them in and I will get to everyone as I can. R1J1 is here from Florida. Everyone's here from Florida. I do speak English. I just can't type. East Coast is tuned in. Yeah, you have to love what you do because you're going to be doing this a lot. And you have to find ways to make it tolerable. There's parts of this job that none of us like. Everyone's, what they don't like is different. Some people it's shipping. Some people it's doing the books. Some people it's measuring. You got to find ways. Play music in the background and sing and dance. Play your favorite podcast. Watch TV while you work. Guess what, guys? We're our own bosses, and we all work from home, and we can do whatever we want. We can work in our pajamas while we jam to some music. We can get dressed if we want. I like to get dressed every morning. It makes me feel like I'm ready for work. Pajamas make me feel lazy, but some people like to work in them, and that's fine. You can watch TV. You can work outside. You can go work at Starbucks. You guys, we can do whatever we want. Find whatever makes you happy in your happy place, in your zone, and do that while you work to make it better. There's no reason why we shouldn't all be 1,000% content and happy every single day while we work. We are our own bosses, and we create our own environment. We're not going to a warehouse every day with somebody screaming down our neck while we sweat in 100 degrees with no air conditioning, welding pipes together. You guys, we work from home. We can have all the creature comforts of home and create an environment that allows us to work happily every single day. Lisa's here. Welcome in. Paul says one has to develop relationships. I speak English too. With ongoing sellers. 3 months of no yard sales and no thrift stores. Yes. So the shutdown taught us all that, right? We all need relationships and contacts. How do you build those up? Talk to people in the community. Build a social media. Join Facebook groups. Make friends. Talk to folks. Make acquaintances. Everything that we've accomplished has been through having contacts from within the reselling world. Even some of the stuff that we get that aren't from other resellers call us. Hey, I heard about this dude that's selling X, Y, and Z. Here's his number. I don't want it. Do you want it? And we'll be like, yeah, we want it. And we'll go get it. The more items I can read. I promise. I can read and speak English. The more items I have that sell, the more I sell. Yes, that's on any platform. The more you list, the more you sell. The more you sell, the more active your store looks. The more active your store looks, the more the algorithm notices you, sees you, and takes note that your items are desirable. Folks are looking at them. Folks are buying them. You're listing. You're active. It gets you noticed by the algorithm. Gets your items pushed up in the searches. Then you sell more. You sell more. You get noticed by the algorithm. You sell more. You see what I'm saying? It's a nice cycle to be stuck in. Hey, Kim, welcome in. So I do not put a limit on myself on how many bread and butter items I buy. I just put a limit and a rule on what bread and butter items I will buy. If the shutdown taught me anything after spending 5 months of getting rid of my death pile, if you're new to the channel and you didn't know, real quick, last September through about February of this year, we, other than 1 month and like 2 week period, we were in Florida in October. We did source down there. The rest of the time we did not source. We went through our death piles or I don't want to piles. We checked our inventory, relisted stuff. And then we went thrifting twice and then the shutdown hit. So no limits. Just what? So I'm getting choosier about my bread and butter. Remember how I said bread and butter is a spectrum? So I'm choosing more stuff on the higher end of the spectrum. The faster flips, the more money flips, the good bread and butter, the high-end bread and butter, and the lower-end filler items I'm leaving behind. I'm also starting to make more rules about what sizes and the styles I'll choose, which just all kind of comes with time and knowledge. I've also, I've helped, right isn't the right word. I've helped with the research now on 3 different clothing guides. So just by doing that research on the back end with Keith and Casey on 3 different guides, I've learned the sell-through rates, the average sale prices, and the average shipping prices, and all these different things, which kind of makes me look at stuff like, I used to leave this behind because I thought it was poop, but it's actually not. So let's put this in my to get pile. And then, 4 or 5 of my, I swear to God, these are bread and butter. I have to buy them. I'm like, on paper, those look bad. So let's start leaving them behind. So again, that just comes with time and knowledge, experience, wisdom, just over time, your own research. We have spent hundreds of hours on the guides on the back end, and that filled my head with tons of knowledge. So no, I guess the answer is I don't limit myself on the amount. If I walk into a thrift store and there are feasibly 300 items that I think are good, I'm going to come home with all 300. If there's only 50, I'm going to come home with 50. Tammy says, even with disabilities in all caps and a bunch of exclamation points. And she would not be wrong, because Tammy, my friend, and I are both disabled, and we do really well for ourselves. In fact, there's a lot of really great success stories in the Facebook group of folks with different disabilities, whether they're physical or mental, that have managed to make this work for them around, not in spite of, but around. So you get a migraine twice a month, those are your 2 days off. You have a bad back, you lay down in the afternoon. If you have anxiety and OCD, you find ways to make that work for you instead of against you. This is the perfect job for anyone. Speaking of, Carlin says, how do you manage your chronic pain with the volume-based business? So I take breaks when I need them. I do my yoga stretches every couple of hours that my physical therapist and my pain specialist taught me to do. So I'm standing up from the chair and I'm doing actual stretches that were taught to me by a physical therapist and a pain specialist for my back. If you don't have access to that, you can ask your PCP or your regular doctor or Google or whatever. Everyone should be getting up and stretching. But I listen to my body. I take breaks when I need it. I take days off when I need it. I lay on my heating pad when I need it. I have medications that help me from the pain specialist. And I have my business and eBay rooms set up specific to my disability. If you're curious about that, I did a 3-video series back in December on how I measure, photographed, and list genes in accordance to my disability. Like everything I do, how I take my photos, the rolly chairs I use, it's all set up for someone with disabilities. I don't carry any bags in. I got keys for that. But if I didn't have a key, I would have to make sure my bags were under 5 pounds and take them in one at a time. I would make it work. You can make it work. You also, unfortunately, I hate to say this, but I got injured 3.5 years ago. You kind of get to a point where when you've had a pain for long enough, even if it stays at like a 9 or a 10, it's just there. It's part of your life. Listing, you can make templates that might help you get faster. Dabla-dita. By making templates and doing those, you might get faster. And then if you're listing the same things over and over, you kind of get to a point where you don't need to comp eventually. Comp until you're confident that you don't need to. I do stress that comping is super important for those of you that are new to reselling, or if you're doing any item that's new to you, you should absolutely be comping. Lisa's going to some thrift stores tomorrow. How exciting. So yeah, you can alternate sitting, standing, walking, laying down. Everybody's disability is going to be different. Everybody's pain level is going to be different. Before I was injured, I worked in the healthcare field, believe it or not, with adults with disabilities. So, when I say my pain level is at a 10, that might be you're in the 1. I might be a real big wussy. My pain level 10 could be Tammy's 1, and Tammy can function, and I'm down crying. Because everyone's different. What they can handle, what they can't is different. Everyone's injury is different. Everybody's disability is different. Everybody's anxiety is different. You just have to find what works for you and copes for you. But the most important thing I tell people to do, listen to your own body. Listen to your own mind. If you are in pain, get up and stretch or sit down if you're standing. Listen to yourself. Your body will tell you what it needs and when it needs a rest and when you need to change what you're doing. If you have really high anxiety and you start to feel tightness in your chest and hyperventilating, you're probably doing something that's out of your comfort zone and you need to chill for a minute. Just listen to your body. I always do this, like your body talks in your ear, but you know what I mean. Believable blessings. Listen to me. I was so slow. Oh my God, I was slow. I feel like the first time I ever listed one pair of jeans, between measuring it and photographing it and listing it, it was like 3 hours later. And I'm like, hi, I've done one pair of jeans in 3 hours. You do get faster. Absolutely. Thank you so much for throwing those links up there, Bill and Dave, Gnome and Frog. They're throwing up some links to the videos I did on how to adjust your eBay room to a bad back disability. I was going to say disability, but it's geared towards those of you with bad backs. Like me. Dad's been rewatching the Jean series. I have to sit at times and sometimes standing. I can't stand. See, like I said, everybody's disability is different. I personally cannot stand for longer than 5 minutes without being in excruciating pain. So even in the kitchen, you guys, I sit down to do everything. I get a chopping board, whatever I'm going to throw stuff. Let's say I'm making a salad for dinner or meatballs or meatloaf. I get everything on the table I need, and then I sit and, chop or knead the meatloaf. That's me kneading meatloaf, but I do everything sitting down. I've adjusted my entire life. You just have to do what you have to do. Like with your eBay business as well as with life. If you still want to chop 15 different vegetables for your salad, you got to sit down to do it. You find out ways to do it. I take breaks when I'm doing dishes. You just have to figure out what's good for you, what works, and how to do it. What is my listing schedule like? So I try to list 10 to 20 new items a day on eBay. I say try. I do 10 a day. I try for 15 or 20, but it depends on what the rest of my day looks like. But I aim for 10 to 20 new on eBay a day, 10 cross-posted to Poshmark, 5 cross-posted to Mercari. And I send out offers on all 3 platforms 3 times a day. Keith does all of our listing on Amazon and locally, and Shopify. He does our Shopify with Casey. And then he does our Grailed. So he does 5 new a day to Grailed and does all the bumping. If you're not familiar with Grailed, they have a bumping system that's kind of like sharing on Poshmark. And then he does 20 to 30 new items a day on eBay. So he does a little bit more on the listing end, but I'm also doing emails, messages, YouTube comments, making videos, social media. I do not all, I shouldn't say all. I do a majority of the customer service for our wholesale business that we run with Casey. So that's what it looks like. We both try to photograph 20 to 30 items a day. We don't always get around to photographing, and that's why we try to do extra. If I photograph 20 a day and I have a day where I don't have time to photograph, I have extra photos saved up for listing. And on the weekends, if I have extra photos left over, I'll list a little bit extra on the weekend to lift our numbers up. I hope that helped and answered you. Greg says, Star knows what she's talking about. Do what she says. Actually implement her strategies, and I promise you'll be successful. With a $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. The comment as well as the super chat. It's really awesome of you. Thank you so much. I remember being excited when I did 5 in one day. Yeah, I just basically quit doing women's tops mostly. Now, I still do them if we get them in a wholesale lot. And I do like scrub tops. I will pick those up when I find them. But for the most part, I try to ixnay all the women's tops. And a lot of what I do is now on a hanger and not a mannequin. And it helps immensely. I need a flat lay. Carlin, if you watch those videos I talked about with the jeans, the way I do those, you can do any flat lay. You just need a poster board on a table and a rolly chair and a good camera that you can do aerial, and you can do it all sitting down or standing if you want. But my jeans flat lay works for kids clothing, Build-A-Bear clothing, skirts, shorts, shoes, plush, I should share the stretches. I would, but I'd be a little hesitant to share the stretches with you guys just because I'm not a medical professional anymore, and I'm not a therapist, and I'm not a pain specialist, and the stuff that they showed me to do was like specific to my injury and my limitations, and I would be really hesitant to teach someone else to do something that may be detrimental or hurt them because it's not specifically tapered is not the word I want. Specifically tailored. Where did tapered come from? Tailored to your specific situation. Oh, another super chat from Dev Ladita's Mama Boss, hashtag Mama Boss, $9.99. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, do whatever you need to do to be productive. Take breaks. Like Tammy says, schedule around how your body works. Everyone's different. I have found working like a second shift works best for me. I have a lot of hard time sleeping at night. I have a lot of bad insomnia. So I work late. I work until midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then it takes me another hour or two to read myself to sleep. But I've been productive until 2 in the morning, say. And then even if I sleep till 11 or noon, by the time I get moving, and it's like 2 or 3. But then I can just take a break for dinner and work like a basic 8-hour, 4 hours with a big break, and then another 3 hours, basically second shift. Some people work best if they get up at the crack of dawn and they feel alive and the birds are singing and it's Snow White in the house with all the birds and the animals. I wish I was that person, but it's not me because I can't sleep at night. Some people, Robert, you guys know Robert, the zombie bargain hunter. He actually works like a third shift schedule because that's how his body works best. He likes to sleep all day and be up all night, and he's really productive at night. So find whatever works for you, your sleeping patterns, your body, your pain levels, your anxiety. Another $5 super chat from Jamie Brown. Thank you so much for this video star. It has changed my mind about volume. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But yeah, and you also have to take into consideration your pets, your family, your kids, your friends. But that is the wonderful, beautiful part of working for yourselves. You guys can create a schedule that works around any and all pain and disabilities, any restrictions you have, any mental health issues you have, your friends, your family, your sleeping patterns. If you have nocturnal pets like hamsters and you want to be up all night, you can. You basically get to create a schedule that works around you and all the people immediately that you are responsible for or care about, and nothing else matters. It does not matter if the reseller down the road from you gets up at 6 in the morning and goes to estate sales and finds great perfumes. If you don't like selling perfume, if you don't like getting up at 6 in the morning, let her do her. You can sleep till noon and order wholesale off of bulk and get your pallets delivered, and you can work a second shift or a third shift and sleep all day. And that's what's going to work for you. So you just have to find, there's a balance and you need to find it. And there's a lot that goes into this balancing act. What do I like to sell? What can I find to sell around me? How many hours a day do I want to put into this? Would I rather spend more time at home in the comfort of my own home, listing and photographing? Or would I rather spend more time on the hunt, outside of the home, seeking treasures, searching for stuff? What's your sleep schedule like? What are your disabilities? What are your restrictions? Do you have kids? Do you not have kids? Are your kids in college? Are you married? Are you single? Do you have a hamster? Do you have a dog? Do you have a cat? Do you have another job? Do you have a part-time job? Do you have a sick parent? All these things, there's so many that can come into play, but you get to build your business, your productivity, and your activity around all of it. Now you tell me one job out there in the real world that lets you do that. I worked in the healthcare field for 20 years with a couple of breaks because caregiver burnout is a real thing. Nurses in the chat like Tammy can justify that statement. But caregiver burnout is real, so I took a couple of breaks. But for the most part, I worked for companies that didn't give a crap. My kid could be in the ER and it was like, you get your ass into work or you're fired. This last company I worked for, basically threw me to the curb. I got disabled. I got hurt at work, and they basically were stepping over my dead body to bring in the next employee. And I had to take them to court to get my workers' comp and what was owed to me. I've never really, I've had supervisors and bosses that were kind and caring and understanding, but they had to follow company policy. So it didn't matter how kind and caring and understanding they were. I've always worked for places that was just like, this is your schedule. You're here on time. You stay until this time or you're done, period. Don't care what else is going on in your life. We don't care if you get hurt at work. We don't care. We'll step on your dead body. But when you work for yourself, you get to do whatever you want to do. All right, I'm going to catch up on the chat. Then we're going to let you guys go because I've kept you for an hour and really getting chatty. You guys got me on a topic I'm really passionate about. When you get me talking about working for yourself from home and all of the reasons why it's wonderful and amazing and so much better than working outside of the house, and all the reasons why I do it and chose to do it, and all of the things that it's enabled me to do and be and feel better about myself as a person when I was able to give in and just be on my own sleep schedule and do what my body was telling me to do, so much healthier. Mentally and physically, just so much healthier. Yeah, this is something I'm super passionate about. I've done tons of videos about it. You guys know that. I'm lucky if I could sleep till 6. I'm lucky if I'm asleep by 6. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's so different. Snow White had 7 coworkers. She did. She also had all those mice and those little animals, the rabbits, and then they clean her house for her. I wish I had that. A hook on the wall with a hanger. Yep. And if you have a wheelchair or you need to work in a rolly chair, you can absolutely put that to the level you need. That's a great idea, Carlin. Greg bought 300 remotes from a local thrift for $25. With just the cable remotes, I've already made over 100. Remotes are, all caps, amazing. Wouldn't have thought to pick them up for you guys. Thank you so much for saying that, Greg. I'm going to highlight that. Remotes are, all caps, amazing. Dare I say they're amazeballs. We've gone through so many remotes here. Both that we've sold one by one-offs ourselves on eBay, and those that we have sold in wholesale lots to other resellers. They still sell every single day. They are fast, reliable, and they will sell every single day once you get enough in your store. Do you find if you list at a specific time of day, does it bring in more sales or traffic? I just recommend listing whenever's convenient for you. We have listed in the morning, evening, and afternoon. I don't really see much of a difference, really. Keith is up earlier than me. His sleep schedule is a little bit different. So he lists sometimes in the morning. And I usually do half of mine in the afternoon right after lunch and then the other half at night. I don't really see a difference. PTSD became too overwhelming for me to work around soldiers. Yeah, I can understand that, Terry Bicker. That would be really, really hard. Some jobs can just eventually wear on you, like mentally, and just burn you out, unfortunately. But now that you can take care of yourself and create your own jobs and your own jobs, you have one job, you have a business, create your own schedule is what I meant to say. We're all a lot better off, right? All right, guys. So just real quickly before I let you go, I want to recap because we kind of went off on a tangent there about working for yourself. The difference between a volume-based business and one that's based on high-end items is volume. You're going to have to list more and sell more to create your funnel. I've talked about the funnel. The more you list, the more you sell. If you have 2,000 items in your store, you're going to sell like 10 to 20 a day, depending what categories you're in. Used clothing, like 10. Electronics, like 20. That's 0.5% and 1%. Look, I can math. I'm so proud. Anyway, so let's say you have 2,000 listings in your store. They're all clothing. You're going to sell about 10 a day. So you need to be listing like 10 to 20 a day to not only replace the 10 you sold, but to continue to grow. So that's what volume is. You have a ton of inventory. You keep listing every day. You're sending a lot out. Hopefully you're profiting at least $10 on most of those items. Sometimes you're going to have loss leaders, and sometimes you're going to have mistakes that you've made or poop that you're trying to get rid of out of your store that you're going to let go on a 99-cent auction, $8 ship, and that's fine. Majority of stuff moving forward from today, promise yourself it's going to be a $10 profit or more, $8 if you're really, really desperate for inventory. But I tell people to aim for $10 or more and as much as you can, and that's volume. If you only list 10 things a day and you only sell one a day, but you still make $1,000, that's the other side. That's unrealistic. Most people can't reach that. So you need to find a balance between both. You need to have stuff in your store that's bread and butter, that's volume, that's going to be low cost of goods, medium to long tail to medium flips that are going to have a little bit higher price tag as far as bread and butter goes. And then you're going to have your fast bread and butter that's going to be a lower price tag, but it's going to move quickly and get you your return on your investment a lot faster. So you got to build up that bread and butter, the really expensive bread and butter that moves slower, the fast bread and butter that is going to go for less money. And then you have your really expensive items trickled in, sprinkled in, salted in as you find them, because they're more rare. They're harder to find. And if you build up enough volume and you can't find the good stuff for a week or two, you're still going to be okay. Because if you're selling 10 items a day at $10 profit, you're making $100 a day. That's $3,000 a month. That's not that much. You should probably aim for more. But if you had to survive like that for a week or two until you found more, you'd be okay. Aim for more, though. Always aim for more. It's not about being greedy. It's about growing. So always aim for more. Whatever you're making today, whatever your average sale price is today, or your average profit, or the average amount that you list per day today, moving forward, make it more. Make it more. You want to make more money because then you have more capital. And the next time you're offered something for $2,000, it's going to be those high ticket items. You're going to have that capital to spend on it. The next time you're offered something wholesale or big that you couldn't afford before, now you can get it and your business can grow. Always aim for more. Sell more, do more, be more, find better stuff, save up your capital, buy bigger lots, buy bigger priced items. Eventually, you can build up a warehouse and employees if that's what you want. And I think that's everything. Let me catch up on the comments and then we will let you go. I had hold off listing because I usually see people that list on Poshmark tend to believe that at the last party of the day, they need to be listing. That might hold true for Poshmark. I've never really seen a difference, but that is the common teaching principle for big Posh sellers, is to list on Poshmark during the last party of the day, but any other platform, I don't see a difference. It's all activity. Cassini can't tell the time of day. The algorithms can't tell the time of day. Carlin's setup sounds pretty cool. Greg says, really quick, if you have time, I have a FedEx order that I require signature on. The buyer keeps missing it. How long until they give up and send back to me? I don't know. I've never really mailed anything FedEx. I always use UPS or the Postal Service. There's no way she can go sign for it? That would be my question. Because, like, if you miss UPS or the Postal Service on, like, a certified letter, they leave you a note and you can go up to the UPS office or the USPS and you can sign for it and pick it up there. Is there any way you could set something like that up for her to where she can go to the FedEx and sign for it? Same. Time waster. Yep. Do what you got to do. A $700 sale. Yeah, I would definitely see if you can't have them hold it at the office and have her sign for it. Figure out how to be more efficient at the end of the day. Accept your limitations. Yep. Yep. You can always do more on your good days, too. I like to tell people that with back problems. Because we'll have good days and we'll have bad days. So if you're feeling great tomorrow, when you wake up, take 20 pictures. And then the next day, if you feel crappy, you can sit on your heating pad or take your pain pill or whatever you need to do and list. 3 times before it's shipped back to you. That's crap. She might be missing on purpose. It might be buyer's remorse. Thank you, Little Davids, for helping out. I don't really use FedEx. Not a fan. We've always used UPS for our big shipments, like wholesale and stuff, and then we use the postal service. You just have to work through that holistic living. So remember, at the beginning, everyone was new, and everyone had those limitations, and everybody had restrictions, and we all worked through it. Keith and I were there too. There was a time when we had 20 things on eBay and we were restricted, and now we're power sellers with, tons of platforms. So just keep at it. Stay motivated. All right, guys, I'm going to end it there. I have kept you long enough. Don't forget to join the Facebook group if you haven't already. Flippin' Hippos Reseller Pod. Link is down below. Best and fastest way to get a hold of me, like I said at the beginning. If you missed any part of this show, you can always go back and watch the replay. It should be up on YouTube within the hour. And I guess that's it. Thank you, everyone, for the super chats tonight. We appreciate it so much. It really helps us continue to do what we do on this channel, and spend the time on the channel that I like to spend on it, but I can't always because I have to make money elsewhere. So every little bit does help me continue this channel. So we do appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, you guys. That also helps. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. That's a really great way to support the channel as well. And again, thank you so much for the super chats. And everyone else, thank you so much for sitting down with me tonight and listening for an hour. I hope you learned something new. I hope you figured something out. If you forgot, you can always ask a question in the Facebook group. But go be productive, go make some money, and thank you again for watching. You guys are the best. Bye.